security business. He was legit, tapped to head the NASDAQ before embarking on this. Like, here's a guy who had everything, more than most people could ever fathom in their lifetime.
Right.
You over 400 emails with him. What was it like for you, and when as you were getting to know this Bernie? What was that journey like for you?
First off, I'll say that it's 400 pages of communications. I have a bunch that are these long, handwritten, single-spaced, exquisite penmanship letters, always defending himself. And by the way, if you want to get a sense of the sociopathy of Bernie, and I don't call him 100% a sociopath, he was writing me, Jim Campbell, who he doesn't know, these long soliloquies, right? He wrote a letter to Andy and Catherine that was one sentence long and said, "I'm so sorry, Dad." Didn't even say love, Dad. But the thing is, so that's an apology though, right? But think about that. One sentence, "I'm so sorry, Dad." And he's writing me 7-8 page single-spaced letters, basically rationalizing everything. It kind of gives you an insight into him. CBS is blown away by that. I'll be interested to see. I think that will make it. As I say, they're distilling 2 hours of interview down to 5 minutes. I'm guessing that comparison of letters is going to make it.
I think that kind of what she said says it all. Here's your father, and that he's writing pages and pages to you who he doesn't even know.
Yeah.
His secretary.
And he's not even saying love, Dad, much less that it's only that it's only 4 words. And you look at your and by the way, you have this tremendous relationship with your father. They worshipped Bernie. It was a very, very strong nuclear family. He was a tough guy to deal with, and intimidating and browbeating. But there was a real love in that family. It did exist.
You did say that, and it's all the money in the world, all the love in the world, 2 amazing sons, a wife that you've been with since she's 13. That's like, you don't hear about those things. And their marriage she was as loyal as could be to this day, as she's, leading a very private life. Let's talk about a secretary. 25 years. Sweet Eleanor.
Yeah, she is sweet. And by the way, you talk about character. She's from Staten Island. She would take the ferry in every day. I think when she went to interview Bernie, the 25 years before, Staten Island, as you know, is minutes from, downtown, Wall Street. I think it was the first time she'd even been on the other side of the island there to Manhattan. So she came from, in her mind, nowhere, and actually a sad upbringing, and watched Bernie grow this thing side by side and was 100% loyal to him and trusted him. And this is what's amazing. The day this thing blew up and the FBI was there the next day, the very next day, she was completely committed to giving the FBI everything they wanted. Someone that had been loyal to somebody else for all these years. And she could never understand, she told me, all these people that she believed were honest and trustworthy and that she'd been very close with, she could never believe where they'd made that decision to cross over the path and why they did it, and that she hadn't done it. And so she's a fascinating person. She was deeply devoted to wanting to clear Andrew and Mark's names, because she was convinced they were innocent. And so, she cooperated with me intensely. I literally have every one of Bernie's private phone numbers to every one of these big investors in the world, including some that if I called, I would get killed the next day. And I have his diaries, which list exactly who he was meeting with those last several years, particularly the last month. So I have a lot of insight into what he was doing. It's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. So what now, Jim? What now? This book is out. People are going to be blown away by the amount of research and
hopefully.
You can't help, you read the book, you can't help but be. How do you feel now after? It must be like, that must have been, was this like an ongoing everyday thing for you?
Well,
With everything else that you do, by the way.
yeah. First off, McGraw-Hill made me cut 50,000 words, but
I know, I
they
don't
let
know
me.
how you did that.
Yeah, they let me double the contract size, but then I tried to go. I guess how I tried to go too far. The way this was, I mean, remember, so Bernie and I are going back and forth all those years. Then there's the gap to do, to try and get a contract. Then there's the gap to do research. When the virus hit, I wrote the bulk of the book itself from January through the end of May last year, which is right during the virus.
Mhm.
And then, of course, we had my editor had it, so we had revisions, and then we had to cut 50. So in that period, it was pretty all intensive. And over the 12 years, it's been sporadic, up and down. But yeah, it's very intensive process. And now, this is the most important part, is selling the book. Now, you ask how I'm feeling about it. My dream was to write the definitive account of this whole story, and that means beyond the Madoff family, beyond Bernie, but the whole deal, as we've talked about, J.P. Morgan, SEC. I wanted this to be the one that stands as the definitive account, which is kind of an ambitious goal. Anyway, the first review from Jeff Colvin, who's the number one reporter at Fortune magazine, the headline was "The Authoritative Account." That's all I didn't even read the rest of the review for 2 or 3 weeks. All I saw was that opening headline, and that was like the fulfillment of my dream. Now where I'm at, which is pretty exciting. In fact, just today and yesterday, I've been twice. There's firms asking to do documentaries who want to document the rights. No, what's it called? Option the rights to do a documentary. That was my second dream, is to have this turned into a documentary.
I think it's going to turn into a documentary. I think it's going to turn into a movie. And I look at the picture of you and Ruth Madoff, and you could see, like, it's just so sweet, Jim. You have your arm around her, and she's like this tiny little person, and her whole life and world just fell apart. It's just, I still go back to her. Through the whole book, I'm going back to her.
It's sad. It's sad in the sense that, I miss her. I would like to have shared this with her, even though there's obviously a lot of stuff in the book she's not going to like. And I texted her as recently as last week when Bernie died, but she hasn't responded now since, that time when she told me she was no longer, so I email her, I text her, and I've heard nothing back. And I don't think her health is as good as it was, but that's obviously sad. I mean, she was really nice. She would say, Mazel Tov, and, the things like that. Mm. If you read the acknowledgments, when I acknowledge her, I say, she would say Mazel Tov, and I say Ruth Shalom.
Oh. The man considered the architect of the biggest Ponzi scheme in U.S. history died just weeks ago behind bars. He was serving a 150-year sentence, the most you can serve. It's a remarkable, hard to believe story, all laid out in his book, his first book. I'm so proud of my friend Jim Campbell.
Madoff Talks,
uncovering the untold story behind the most notorious Ponzi scheme in history. Boy, it opened up my eyes. I mean, I didn't know nearly a quarter of this stuff. I just always felt for Ruth and those boys. May they rest in peace. I'm sure they have more peace now than they would have if they were here. Not easy what he did to, and I'm not just talking about his family. That's beyond what he did to his investors, what he did to his secretary, what he did to all the people who trusted him and his friends. And well,
I'm going to send, by the way, Wendy, I'm going to send your podcast to Andy's girlfriend.
Okay, that would be really. Thank you. So everyone, go out and get this book. It's out now. It's just out now. The timing is pretty much karma, I would say. Madoff Talks, uncovering the untold story behind the most notorious Ponzi scheme in history. Jim Campbell, you're one of the nicest, best guys I know. Yeah. I met you some 13 years ago, and you've been a big fan of mine. I am a huge fan of yours, and I couldn't be more proud of you. And what hard work. This could not have been easy to uncover all of this. And it's a really amazing story and you did an amazing job.
Well, you're a sweet person. You're a great person. I've always admired you from the Phil Donahue connection, and how much I've watched, how much he loves you, because you can always tell that. And it's, to make, I really made it, I believe, when I made the celebrity show of Wendy. And again, I'll say once more at the end, folks, you'll hear this on Tuesday, but you can go to the CBS Sunday Morning News website and get the interview that I taped with him this week. I think you'll enjoy that. I think the book is a fast read. It's a detective type story. You don't have to be a big finance guru. I think you can. I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you, Wendy.
If I got through it, oh my gosh, Jim, thank you so much. Go get the book, Madoff Talks, Uncovering the Untold Story Behind the Most Notorious Ponzi Scheme in History by Jim Campbell. I wish you all the success in the world. What a book.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of What's Up with Wendy's podcast. I hope you'll share and subscribe on any of your favorite platforms. It's available on all of them. Thanks so much.